Hello gamers and Stadia players, welcome to episode 22 of the Sounds of Stadia podcast. We're back from our live break last week, taking part in the Stadia Super Saturday, and hopefully both our audio and our faces will now be resolved and you won't have to see us, but you'll be able to hear us a lot crisper and a lot clearer. So I think I wanted to just start off by saying thank you for persevering and listening to our kind of first attempt at a live show. Hopefully you did enjoy it and you joined in some of the fun online and got involved in the chat. But yes, I'm joined, my name's Chris, if you are unaware. I'm joined by my usual co-hosts. I've got both Richie.
Hello there.
Who's joined us again this week. And we've got our techie teacher still, Mr. Tom.
Still here.
Still here. And again, thank you last week, Tom, for helping us set up with the green screen. It was definitely a group effort, but it was definitely more, I think, from a technology standpoint on your behalf. So
yeah, 100%.
Thank you for that. We wouldn't have been able to pull together what we did without, I think, your technical prowess. So thank you again for that. And hopefully it didn't look too rough. I think a lot of people, you got some compliments from your graphic design for the Ghost Recon giveaway.
Them nice white borders.
Yeah, we had some lovely white borders. But again, this is a work in progress. We're slowly but surely growing a community. And thank you very much to everyone who tuned in, because that live stream in particular was our highest viewed yet. Massive appreciation.
It was amazing.
Yeah, we had loads of fun doing it. I think definitely it's something that we want to do more of in the future. We had an absolute blast playing Trials Rising on the live stream. That video we've actually cut down also and put it out there. It's been a bit more of a funny edit to go with it, so it's a bit more watchable. It's under an hour, but definitely go check that out over on YouTube too, because it's a good laugh. I've watched it back myself, and there's some very, very funny moments. Does Richie end up with a penis tattoo? Who knows? You'll have to tune in.
Check out Twitter.
Does he still have it?
No, we pulled it, didn't we?
We pulled it from. We pulled the tweet from
You'll
Twitter.
You'll have to watch the show.
You'll have to watch the show, even though it may or may not be censored. But
You'll
Richie did.
Yeah.
Is your arm still crested with our logo and tattoo?
It luckily it came off quite easy. I didn't have to even scrub it too hard to get it off.
He has cleaned since then.
Yeah.
Within a week, he's had a wash. That is great to know. That's great to know. That is not the reason we do this podcast in separate houses. But yes, thank you for tuning in, everyone there. We've seen our community itself grow within Stadia, and we are really, really appreciative of that as well. But I think we might kick off this show back to usual rigmarole. We'll start off, Tom, with
the wait for it, super sexy special Stadia story segment, aka the news.
The news. You messed up there, Tom.
I did absolutely mess up.
What did you say in the middle of it?
Sorries.
The sorries?
The sorry segment.
Sexy special Stadia. Sorry segment.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. We managed it last week live, didn't we?
We
Kind
did.
of, we think.
I think so.
So just proof goes to show that we all need to be in the same reaching distance of each other to be able to synchronize our vocals up.
You know what it is? It's latency.
It is latency.
It is. That's it. It's doing.
Only we had some of that negative.
A few milliseconds
latency.
were out.
Yeah. So Goose didn't mess it up this time, Tom. No. It was we're all good. So excellent. So yes. So the news this week, it's been very, very busy. I mean, we seemed to be on a good routine of having really good stories, news drop consistently. This week's no busier than any other, but it seems to just be coming thick and fast at the moment. We're into that time of the year where this news just is, coming down the pipe.
Definitely stepped up. It was quite quiet the first few weeks of January, but since then,
we've
got too much news.
It seems to be. So for better or for worse, our first story from the week, which you may have seen covered elsewhere because it's quite big news, is all of the founders have lapsed now. Everyone who was a founder on the 19th of November 2019, our 3-month period, our jumping in at the very beginning, has ended. So I think I wanted to just start off with, gentlemen, as asking you two, have you renewed your subscriptions?
I have.
Pro?
Yep, certainly have.
Me too. Partially because I didn't really think about it and took it automatically from me. Partially because I'm also kind of committed, as you can imagine, hosting a podcast show about Stadia. I want to see this through. I want to commit to it. I want to give them my money to promote kind of the growth of the community and the growth of the platform. And I'd hate to see a massive drop off, but I feel like everyone in the community who's listening along, who's watching at home, who's playing these games, I feel like if you bought into it at this point, you want to give it more time. It's only still a baby.
I was considering cancelling it just so I could resub on the 1st of March, just so all my bills are synced up for the start of the month, but I forgot to do it.
Yeah,
sake.
we did discuss that, didn't we? Because it
Yeah.
would be quite nice to just sort of change that date. But
There's
laziness
always next
sort of
month.
takes over a little bit, doesn't
Yeah,
it?
it's a
Really?
rolling monthly thing. I'll fix it next month.
Yeah, definitely. They may bring out eventually. I'm sure that's not the priorities at all, Richie. But you can align your direct debit at some point down the line. I hope. But actually, the first major story off the back of that this week was Destiny 2 coming off the back of the Pro subscriptions lapsing. Destiny 2 is going to be locked behind the Pro subscription. So everyone who's new to Stadia is just joining will remember that Destiny 2, the collection, was part of the Founders and was it part of the Premier Edition? Am I right in thinking you got that too with it? I think it was everyone who signed up to Stadia in any shape or form. Even the buddy passes received Destiny Collection, correct?
I thought Destiny wasn't it just the first month's pro game?
Was
No,
it?
no,
I thought it was...
no. Destiny 2 had been running alongside, so it was whereas the rest of the games rolled over. I believe Destiny 2 just persisted through that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
you
it's
you could pick it up at any time because if you got done at a buddy pass, you could also take out Destiny 2 as like your first trial game, almost part and parcel with it. Correct?
I still think it's the same now, but I'm not sure whether it's changed over to just like the base Destiny 2 game rather than the collection now. But I think even if you just were picking up or getting involved into the Stadia experience, that you can still just go out and pick up Destiny 2 as part of the pro sub.
That might have been it. Maybe the collection was your pro game, and the base version is just there.
Well, we probably going to need some feedback from some of the buddy pass holders, I guess, because we gave some out as part of the Stadia Super Saturday, and I am pretty certain that that those who just picked up a buddy pass were able to get Destiny 2. But like you say, whether it's the full collection, I honestly have no idea.
So it does appear then that you need the pro subscription membership to play Destiny 2 online right now, because the expansions have also become available in the store. I think it was picked up over on Stadia Source, that news. So yeah, how do we feel about this, gentlemen? So a collection that I felt was just part and parcel of the Stadia bundle, is now behind a paywall of the pro subscription.
I think we should caveat any discussions with none of us actually play Destiny.
Anymore.
Yeah. I did try it when I first got Stadia because I had nothing else to play, but it didn't click for me. I don't know. I'm not fond of it because I've never before this point seen anything from Google saying that you would need the pro subscription for online play. I know you need it for other platforms like PlayStation, Xbox, but I've never seen anything from Google with that. So I was a little surprised.
Yeah, I have to say as well. So you said we don't play it anymore. I mean, we can still play it. We're all pro subs, right? So we can play it, at least compared to some people out there who can't now. The thing that gets me with this one is Destiny 2, the base game, is now free on any platform. Like, you go to Steam, you can pick it up and play it for free. Like, it is a free game. The expansions, obviously, and rightly so, they are still chargeable. But I suppose the only thing we have to link this to here is, like you said, Richie, is like if you want to play it online, you have to have, for PlayStation, you have to have PS Plus for it. So that's probably what it's most comparable to.
Yeah. The people who don't have it as well, they are hit with a message of subscribe to play. So the base game is still free. You just have to subscribe to play, which, as you're alluding to there, Tom, is the same as PlayStation Plus and Xbox Live. So it's not too dissimilar to the competition. I think it's just the way the news was kind of trickled out in a busy news week. It was very much under the radar if it had not been picked up by Stadia Source and others. It wasn't on their Twitter feed, I don't recall. It was very much just a dropped in the part of the community blog, I think. But either way, it depending on your preference, it makes sense. If you've been enjoying the game, you're gonna pay to play it anyway.
I think the one thing we need to remember as well is you mentioned you could play it on PC for free, Tom. You can actually play Destiny 2 on GeForce Now, so you can play Destiny 2 through the cloud.
Oof. That's
Yeah, this is when I've been a big advocate that GeForce Now is a utility, but this is where it competes against Stadia when it's enabling you to do stuff through Steam that you can't do on Stadia.
Well, we'll be getting to GeForce Now later on.
I just think that the issue around this news in particular about Destiny 2 being locked behind Pro is possibly the wording of it. We discussed pre-show that when people originally invested in purchasing either the Founders or Premier Edition, there was, and it's been picked up by the community, there was a line in the original claim of what you get for your £119, £120, that said you get Destiny 2, the collection, which implied that it came with all the DLC and so on there. Now, there were never any caveats to say that must have pro subscription in order to play it online. I get what we're saying in the sense that, for other services, you have to have like a paid service in place, like PS Plus, Xbox Live, arguably just having an internet connection in general in order to be able to play it. But it was never really stated. So I think a lot of the concern, the confusion, the angst that's come as a result of it is just behind that lack of clarity. It's a question of semantics here, where certain people have sort of looked at it and gone, right, surely by the way that you're saying this, we get the game, so why can't I play it? Like, yes, it's part of my library, but I should be able to play it. You never stated that I needed to pay for Pro to play it.
Yeah,
that's where I think the issue lies.
I agree. I think you have genuine reason to be a bit salty if you're a big Destiny fan or any online gaming fan. We don't know if this applies to other online games yet. If anyone else has got an online game to test it out, it'd be good to hear some feedback.
It'll be interesting to see whether it applies to Elder Scrolls Online when that comes out, because that's one that I really want to play.
Even things like Borderlands or Sam Show, these have online components, trials, all these sort of games, they all have online components. We don't know because we can't actually test it out.
Yeah, it's the interesting world that we live in with kind of always online games now, that there are some caveats and risks that do come with it. My big thing is all these games such as like The Division that we talk about, and Ubisoft, actually, a lot of their library now rests on always online components. And Destiny's a big user of that what happens to these games as time passes by and the user base drops off, accessibility, subscription models, all that kind of content slowly start to dry up. Does that game literally become unplayable at one point? Which is always when it comes to buying physically or digitally, that was always my concern with other platforms. I'm much more likely to buy an always live game digitally as opposed to a kind of rounded off single player campaign where I can go back to at any time, because that game is going to be dead. I own The Division 2 on PlayStation 4. That game, if I put that in my PlayStation 4 in 5 years' time, can I play it at all? Or have I just got a disc that I paid for and it's redundant now?
I can answer that one for you. As a long-time MMORPG player, I used to play Star Wars Galaxies, the Star Wars MMO, when that came out.
Nice.
When Sony Online Entertainment, which no longer exists, when Sony Online Entertainment, who created the game, eventually wrapped up the game, no, they turned the servers offline. Yeah. That's it. It's done. It's dusted. It's gone. And I think... yeah, it's sad to think about, but I think we have to look at like the longevity of certain games, and you possibly have to say that maybe they have a 5-year, a 10-year sort of like life cycle on them before they are eventually going to become redundant.
Which is a massive shame.
Nature of the beast.
It is, unfortunately. Could you imagine a world in 20, 30 years' time when all the people playing Fortnite at the moment grow up, go, oh, you know what? Remember that game we used to play as kids? Let's stick it in, and it just isn't there anymore. Like, that's crazy, isn't it? Like, I can go back and play games from my childhood, like Sonic the Hedgehog, Crash Bandicoot, and a lot of them have these amazing remasters. But yeah, online games, 24/7, they're not going to last.
The Wii Store is gone. So if you have a Nintendo Wii, anything you bought digitally, if it's not installed in your Wii, it's gone. Yeah. The servers are shut down, so if it's got an online component, it's gone. It is a shame because there's an art element to gaming. So, and with this history of like games just being the source code just being getting lost because publishers didn't think they'd ever need it, and especially when they were small, could reuse that, like whatever the storage space for other things. I think it was might have been one of the Final Fantasies that Square just got rid of because they didn't think they'd ever need it again.
Yeah, that did happen.
Lost to the sands of time, just like Prince of Persia, eh, Tom? Lost to the sands of time. But speaking of time, let's move on to the next big story then. So we've got some games. We've got lots of game announcements actually that dropped this week.
Yeah,
we actually broke one live on last week's episode, which caught us all off guard. Yeah. We had to try and shoehorn that into our news segment. But yeah, we had the Doom Eternal. Got a date last week, which was fantastic for us. We got to bring that to our audience live and in the moment. Hopefully no one left to watch it, we joked about. But so we got Doom Eternal. We've also got Spitlings has a date finally. Tom, I know you're a big advocate of these guys. You've had a bit of conversation back and forth with the dev team over Twitter. You've reached out. You did reach out to them and try and get us a demo to play on the live stream last week, which totally understandable that they aren't live publicly yet, so we weren't able to get that. We're not quite a big enough company yet to demand those type of demos.
They didn't give us an outright no, though. They said we had to go through the publisher.
That is true. That is true. But
to the future, promise for the future.
Promise for the future. But we've got keen eyes on this game. I think we're all just excited to have a bit of couch co-op fun together in a new title.
They got me excited earlier on Twitter because they said that you could do couch co-op and online co-op simultaneously, but they got carried away themselves. It's one or the other, unfortunately.
One or the other, yeah. I did see that and have a little laugh to myself. But the reality is the game looks super fun. We've got a date of February 25th. So at the time of recording, we just have to wait 2 more days, gentlemen.
So Tuesday.
We can jump in. Yeah,
on
Tuesday. We can jump in and play Spitlings. It is 4-player online, so I'm also thinking, Tom, you were mentioning a stream potentially this week at some point.
Yeah, I may even be doing that stream on Tuesday, depending on release time. So
interesting. Could myself and Richie join you in the chat for that as well?
Would be more than happy to welcome anybody who wants to play. I might even open it up to the community if people want to get in on that action.
Ooh, interesting.
Yeah, could be fun.
Keep an eye on Twitter for that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we'll get Tom to make a graphic.
That's what I love doing.
Toil away. Either that, or while we're here, we might as well segue into if you go to our Twitter feed, actually, at Sounds of Stadia on Twitter, and check out the stuff Tom, which is at Adaxis, has been up to yesterday or the day before. Tom toiled over many hours, I believe, making a outfit for our Trials game that we've been playing. Do you want to describe to the listeners what it was, Tom, and how long you spent exactly making it?
Yeah, I think I spent in total probably about 2.5 hours doing it, but I created in game. First of all, there's a really detailed customization, like I don't know what to call it, just like a shop, I suppose. Yeah, it's a creator where you can take any of the items of clothing in the game and you can customize it and add stickers to it, add letters, numbers, graphics, and so on. I thought I'd see how versatile it was, and basically recreated like a mashup of Chris's black Sounds of Stadia hoodie that you may have seen on the live stream, and also my my blue navy Sounds of Stadia t-shirt with the graphic on the chest. So I took the graphic from the chest of my t-shirt, put it on the back. I've taken the Sounds of Stadia logo and put it right on the chest. And once you've created something, you can publish it to the store in game and allow anybody who plays it to access it for in-game currency. So if you are a fan of the podcast and you do have Trials Rising on Stadia, head over to the store in-game and you should be able to pick it up. I think it's 1,030 coins in-game.
What does that relate to in real money? Or dong, I should ask. How many dong does that translate to?
How many dong in particular? I think it comes to about 3.5 million dong, something along those lines. It's a lot of dong. It's an awful lot of dong.
And you know what? I actually want this hoodie.
All right.
I think it's awesome.
In Trials or in real life?
In real life.
In real life. So just to be clear as well, we don't make any money off the back of this design. When Tom's saying it's up there for digital currency, we don't get a penny of that. It all goes to Ubisoft. What's the exchange rate on it then, Tom? Do we know?
Oh no, it's not paid for currency. It's just the credits you earn in game just by playing.
Oh, okay.
So it's completely free to everyone, essentially.
Do you personally get the credits if they buy it?
I get a share of the credits in game. I will confirm that much. I am a sellout. No, anything that you publish, you earn back I think it's like 10%, 20% max of any sales that you make goes to the original creator. But again, caveat, it's not real money. It's nothing. You don't have to use your credit card or your debit card to actually put cash into it. And that's a different system. I think they call that the Acorn system. I think that's what they use for like digital currency in Trials Rising. But no, it's just the coins you earn through completing races, like just playing the general race mode.
So if they can either spend the coins on the Sounds of Stadia outfit, or they can spend it on Richie's green gimp suit from the live stream, something like that.
That was default.
That's default.
That's Richie's default gimp suit, or
it was Careless Angel, the green demon.
The green demon. But yeah, so thanks for that, Tom. Thanks for toiling over.
Yeah.
Anytime.
I'm sure you enjoyed yourself, no doubt.
Yeah.
We know how much of a perfectionist you are with that type of stuff.
Yeah. If you didn't pick it up, tweet us with you showing you using it.
Yeah, let's see you representing our podcast out there in the wild. But you never know. One day we might have an official merchandising store on the go, and you can buy caps and pencils and erasers and all the other thing you used to buy in school for all your friends when you come back from a holiday. All that clutter. But speaking of new games that we also got and new merchandise, we got a few others that were announced. So very shortly after the 5 games we got last week, we got Spitlings at the beginning of the week. We also got a absolute catalogue of Steamworld games. So we got announcements for the original Steamworld Dig game. We got Steamworld Dig 2, the sequel. We got Steamworld Dig Quest and Steamworld Dig Heist. So I'm familiar with the Steamworld Dig game. I played that on PlayStation 4 back in the day. I remember the Heist game was very different. I think it went in a different direction. But 4 games, all from the same kind of catalogue, same developer, all coming to Stadia. And interestingly enough, it came with the slight instruction with that 2 of them will be pro games on launch. So do we want to dig into that a little bit more, gentlemen, and the games themselves?
Dig into that. Without intentional.
That was not intentional, actually, but
Nice.
I will take it. I will take it.
But yeah, Dig and Quest will be pro games, ready to claim as soon as the launch. We don't know when that's going to be. The other caveat is we don't know whether they will be the pro games that month or in addition to other things.
Yeah, it's not quite clear, is it really? It's been stated. The only thing we got was, here are 4 games that are coming, and we just had a little line of text underneath the 2, just saying pro. That's all it said right there. Mm-hmm. But they're good games. They're a lot of fun. A lot of people like yourself, Chris, will be familiar with Steamworld Dig. Some people may be more may have had the opportunity to go on from there from play Dig 2, but Quest is one that I'm quite excited for because it's a turn-based role-playing game.
Yeah,
it's using like it's almost got like a trading card game element to it as well. So it's like turn-based role-playing but using cards. So if anyone likes tabletop card games, particularly things like Magic the Gathering, or for those Witcher fans out there, something like Gwent, then it could be quite a nice pickup there for Stadia, really.
Yeah, so it's an interesting way that they've posted these. So with so they've stated in it that they'll be available for Stadia Pro subscribers to claim and play when they launch, which is it's a weird thing to post out with an announcement of new games. Would you think it'd be better just to surprise us that they're free when it does launch, especially when the Stadia keep following this pattern, which we've joked about. We joked about last week, but they love the word soon.
Yeah,
we've said this time and time
trademark.
again.
I think it's something that publishers and platforms are doing more and more now. Rather than giving hard release dates, just give a rough period of time, and when they've got it locked in, that's when they give you a release date, because then it removes the stigma of things being delayed. So, well, I am actually being quite optimistic on this, and that basically they will launch it when it's ready, and they'll just give you the games. There you go, regardless what else has gone on that month.
Yeah, I think the timing of this is quite good as well, because this was also announced on the back of the same week that the Destiny 2 shenanigans kicked off, really. And I think the reason they outright labeled it as pro, which I think is the point that you were alluring to, Chris, is they announced that 2 of the games will come with pro, probably because these pro subscriptions were lapsing, and it was to try to get people to think, actually, do I want those games? Then just to sort of like coax people into staying, I suppose, really. That's my thought on it. It's my take.
Dangling that carrot out there and saying, look, don't leave just yet, because there's some new
come
games
more
on the
pro
way,
games.
and they're going to be there day and date. So do we presume that these are coming quite soon then? Soon? Literally, trademark? Soon?
I don't think they're coming as quickly as we think.
I'm going to say it's going to be after April, to be honest. I think they probably want to start thinking about getting things in the next financial year for Stadia. So having things come out, maybe it might be literally just April the 1st. So then it would be in the next financial year. I'm
going to take a quick sidebar, actually, and go back to the previous story and think about Spitlings. Now that we've had this announcement of like a category of games, if we know that Spitlings is coming out the 25th of Feb, we haven't heard anything else about that other grouping of games. So like Stacks, Serious Sam, Panzer Dragoon, and Lost Words as well. If Spitlings, after following that announcement, is coming out as soon as the 25th of Feb, do you think we'll hear anything else about the rest of those games, or do you think they're also part of the tracked 120 games that will be spread out probably over the course of, I mean, we still don't know how long the period of time is.
And this is where the ambiguity of the word soon creates a lot of, I think, problems within people thinking about it, putting dates on. You mentioned there, Richie, the financial year, but none of this really benefits it without having a hardened date locked in. So as you said, Tom, if these are the 120 games, we laughed last week, but as the Serious Sam collection, 3 games or 1 game? Are these 4 Steamworld games, 4 separate games, and therefore is this 9 out of our 120 games we're expecting this year? But we need these locked-in dates, so as gamers and as consumers, we can look forward to them, like with a locked-in time.
I'd be surprised if Google don't have these games not fully locked in, but kind of soft locked in their calendar. But it's only when they get that hard lock they'll drop it. They'll give you the release date. They seem to be very cautious with release dates and things. Like Spitlings was a couple of days ago, and it's coming out next week.
Yeah,
so very short.
I appreciate the turnaround time from the announcement to the release, which on the flip side of that could then almost condition us Stadia users to expect these games sooner than they actually are. In my head, I've seen the Steamworld Dig announcement. Now I expect that to be out within the next month. Because the way I've been conditioned with the game release of Stadia games, I'm used to seeing it and then it follows shortly afterwards. Which is, again, whether they want me to think that way or not, this is what they're creating by not having these locked-in dates.
I feel like it's a dangerous game, really, that they're playing at the moment. Yeah. I appreciate it. I appreciate the game announcements because everybody's out there saying, oh, no games, and so on. But at least we're getting the announcements. Yeah, sorry, Richie, you go.
One thing I think I've noticed is a lot of these announcements we're getting are kind of games that already exist. So the community's been starved for game announcements. Yeah. So they've probably pushed up the dates of some of the stuff that is just easier to get on the platform that isn't still in development. Because these games are not currently getting developed. It's just a case of getting them ported and getting them licensed.
Yeah. Yeah, I was going to say as well.
I'd expect a quick turnaround on these. And that starts showing stuff coming to the store and buys them time before the bigger games are coming. Yeah, especially with a lot of stuff getting delayed.
It's nice that we're getting these indie titles now, and all of these games that are coming out are indie titles. Like the entire Steamworld range is, it's not your AAA stuff really, but now we're getting these fantastic. Keep them rolling, build up that indie library on our side here. But then we're also going to have to start thinking about, are the AAA games coming, or is this 120 games we're expecting to see purely going to be, indie titles at this point?
Yeah. I do appreciate the mix of games that Steamworld brings to the table. Like you said, Tom, you've got role-playing games, you've got your platform. For anyone who's not played the original Steamworld Dig games, it's very much you go spelunking, and I'd say almost like a Stardew Valley kind of collect, dig your way around, collect all your stuff, improve your character and such. And it's a game you could spend 10 minutes playing, or it's a game you could spend 10 hours playing, depending on how much you really get into it. But what I do appreciate is just the library is now getting fleshed out with something other than a traditional shooter. And I think I'm looking forward to having those spare half an hour, spare hour or so where I can just jump in, as we'll get to later on more devices, and just play a quick game, spend a quick couple of minutes just digging around and collecting some stuff. Digging around. I'm gonna keep
so don't get too ahead of yourself as well either, because Steamworld Heist is a shooter.
Is it? Interesting.
It's not.
So it's a varied catalog.
Yeah, it's not a first-person shooter, but it's still a shooting game. So
something different though.
Yeah, definitely.
And we get to them for free, apparently.
Hey.
As pro.
If you have a pro subscription, yeah.
Exactly. But I think we can all agree though, either way, new games is the best news you could possibly ask for. A bigger variety, more to share, more to play, more to talk about, which benefits us as a podcast. So keep it coming.
Brand new AAA titles are going to be further down the line, especially with the launch of PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X this year. I think most developers are kind of done with the current generation.
Yeah, this year is quite dry, to be honest. Like looking at the initial library, there's not much.
There's a few things hanging on that have been delayed, and that's about it, really.
Yeah. Which gives Stadia a fantastic opportunity to build up this catalog and then start going toe-to-toe with these next-gen consoles with the similar, if not greater, processing power further down the line. So we'll see. But other new games, another one we can bring to the table. You said in the doc, I think Richie or Tom, we've got Stadia, the home of bike games. So not only do we have our shooters, but we do love a good racing game over. We've got Trials Rise and we've got Motocross Super Energy, Red Bull sponsored, Super whatever it's called. But now we've got another one coming. So those of you two-wheel fanatics out there, we've got MotoGP 20 coming to Stadia on. We have a date, the 23rd of April.
Again, another game that came out of nowhere.
Yeah. It just dropped and was like, here it comes, out of nowhere. So I know we're not massive. As much fun as we had playing Trials, I think it's no secret that we're not massive MotoGP fans.
Yeah.
I appreciate a motorbike just as much as the next guy. But in terms of putting 30, 40, 50 pound down to play it, not really my cup of tea.
Yeah,
so have we had a chance to have a look at any of the trailers? I think, Richie, you alluded to this game being a bit more professional, more of a racing simulator as opposed to an arcade style.
It's more of it's just it's a racing game with bikes. I don't really have much more to say about than that.
You could put that on a box.
I'm not a MotoGP person. I don't really have much.
Marketing
I think
genius.
Yeah, with Trials leans into a bit more of the comic elements. I mean, when you saw on when we were playing in our live stream, if you haven't watched it, it's on YouTube. I was playing as a guy in a full lime green leathers with what looked like a gimp mask. I don't expect this from this game.
Yeah, expect this one to have a bit more hardened rules around
it's
the
a serious game.
mechanics. Yeah, but for those of you out there who are big fans of MotoGP, enjoy it. It's another game coming to Stadia, and yeah, if it's too serious for you, you do have the other games to fall back on as well. Yeah. Actually, Tom, you pointed out as well earlier on pre-show that it's made by the same developers.
It is
Monster Energy Supercross 3.
Absolutely.
So clearly, developers who are working with Stadia, they seem happy enough to keep working with them. A lot of it, like we've looked at, likes of Ubisoft and Bethesda, they seem to be supporting it on a longer term. So if you'd imagine if there was any difficulty porting across the Stadia, they've not seen the benefits of working with Google Stadia, they wouldn't be bringing another game out.
No, it's absolutely true. And I think the same thing could be said for developers like Codemasters as well. We've obviously got Grid, and Grid has its own special feature, its own special element within Stadia as well for the 40-car races. So it'd be nice to see Codemasters release, because I know they've gone down the line of doing a lot of racing games, car games and things now. So we'll probably see some more of those titles, I expect, in the near future too.
Yeah. One last thing, I'm just confirming. MotoGP 20, that's day and date with other platforms as well. This is brand new.
Oh, great.
Ooh. Yeah.
There we go. Which was what we expect as the year goes on.
Yeah.
And these new AAA, AA, whatever you want to call them, titles come out. I can't foresee a world we live in where Stadia is going to be delayed or like follow afterwards, because it is just going to put such a sour taste in people's mouths. We've had this discussion before, I think, when we were expecting to have Cyberpunk on the horizon. Were we going to wait if it was delayed on Stadia because we were a bit unsure about the day and date time? They can't have that problem going forward into next gen. They cannot have people waiting when they've got other consoles in the house that they can play these games on. So great news.
I'm hoping that's just a thing that's resigned to the past, because it was so new that things take time to get across. But there's one more thing I'd like to say about this, Tom, for you. Apparently it has 6 different graphics editors.
Ooh. I love me a graphics editor.
So is that look out for the Sounds of Stadia hoodie within MotoGP 20?
Well, I don't think it'd be a hoodie because they're like in full racing levers, but you can edit the levers.
Yeah, helmet decals. The works.
There you go. Stickers are in the pipeline. But yeah, so that brings us to a wrap on our new games news this week. It's really good that we get to actually take a moment to talk about new game releases, because this is surely going to be a segment that's going to get thicker and faster as we get creep towards the launch of next gen, and as more of the titles the end of the year definitely seems stacked in terms of AAA releases. So we've got our
stacks
Cyberpunk,
on stacks.
Yeah. We've got those releases in the pipeline, so we can look forward to them. But what I'm really enjoying is the fact that every week we get together to talk about how Stadia is evolving and how it's growing. And the reality is it's 3 months old, and we're now getting to a point where we have new game announcements, what feels like every other week, which is how it should be. That's what it's like with other generations. And it doesn't seem to be just filler content. There's a AAA title discussion. There's your smaller indie titles, which is what you need. You need that good mixed bag of games to help it grow.
I think that's it. You hit the nail on the head there. It's a good mix.
Because, if it was just indie games after indie games, we'd probably no doubt start getting frustrated on that. So it's enough to keep us satisfied. And a lot of these games will come out, like the MotoGP one, that they don't interest us three personally. But you know what? There'll be a hardcore audience out there who will have bought Trials, they'll have bought Super Energy Cross, and they'll have bought this because that's what they're into. And I think the better mix they've got, the more attractive Stadia becomes to an audience, because it harks back to the benefits of being on Stadia. You could just play MotoGP on the 23rd of April without owning a console by just jumping in on Stadia if they announce when bloody base is going to come out. Because now, actually, as a sidebar, we are now in this weird phase where how do you get Stadia?
You can still buy the Premier Edition.
You can still buy Premium.
You still need to put down that.
I think the Premier Edition is just going to stay on the store full stop. They might start adding more choice in what controller you get.
Yeah,
which I think they should, to be honest, because you currently get just the base white one, so I don't see why you couldn't get the base black or the wasabi as it's just a choice. Just let you pick.
Well, it's interesting because 23rd of April we'll have passed. We'll be almost a month away from GDC at that point, so hopefully we'll have some more news close to the launch of MotoGP 20 that's centered around base and people being able to just jump in, buy the game, play it wherever they want to play on a multitude of devices with no actual purchase required for Stadia software or hardware. Win-win.
Win-win.
Win-win. So speaking of saving money on purchases, we've got a few game sales this week that have trickled over. So a list of games, we've got Borderlands 3. It's discount. I believe, Richie, you put it in the doc, discount until, I presume, the 4th of March is when the discount ends.
I believe that's correct.
Is Richie froze Tom by interest? Because I'm looking at his face in the video chat, and he's just frozen in a really serious manner. And initially, I thought he was just panicking about something, but then he's not actually said anything, and I'm just staring at his face, and it's hilarious.
That's gonna get memed, right?
I've just took a photo of Richie. So Richie, if you can hear us, he's gone. Oh, bless him.
Oh, we lost Richie.
So Richie, by the way, who's recently upgraded his internet, believe it or not, to super fast Virgin Media broadband, he's dropped out of our chat, and no doubt he'll rejoin us. Hopefully it won't affect our recording, Tom. But can we talk shit about him while he's gone?
Sure. Why not? What do you want to say?
That gimp mask the other week, right? I can't believe he got rid of the penis tattoo. I thought the whole point of it was going to be permanent.
I thought the gimp mask suited him, to be honest with you. I thought it was going to become a staple look as well.
It's his brand. He's going to get within the Sounds of Stadia merchandise store that we're creating totally on our own minds right now. Richie's that's going to be his section of the store for 18 plus members only. But while we do wait for Richie, Tom, now we've just got you and me. Live streams.
Yes.
What's our future plans for this? Not just now, but I'm thinking long term. We got a lot of positive feedback from the massive audience we had watch along on Saturday, and I think we all, when we did wrap up, we all said how much we enjoyed it. I think we got a bit of a kick out of it. We had a few nerves going into it, we'll be honest. I think the possibility of hundreds of people tuning in to watch us live on a couch was quite daunting. I think Richie had a moment just before we actually went live who was like, there's like so many hundred people in the chat right now. And we've never had that before because we record this offline on a Sunday afternoon where it's just the three of us and we just chat as friends. So hopefully we cope quite well with it. But I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, it's a little bit of stage fright going into it, but I guess, with practice and exposure to it, that you just suddenly become more attuned to it, really. And at the end of the day, it's no different than people listening to the podcast every week. But no, you're absolutely right. We definitely had a great time doing it. And I think the audience as well definitely voiced their feelings towards enjoying the content we were putting out there. So live streams are definitely coming. The aim for it will be to try to play these like co-op or competitive style games, because I think we can get a really good dynamic there and people really enjoy watching that sort of thing rather than, for example, historically, I've played Borderlands 3 and you guys have seen it streamed. It is on the YouTube channel as well. But those sorts of feelings right there from the audience tend to be a little bit more like, well, it's a little bit boring when it's one person playing by themselves. And I completely get that, because the dynamic is there when there's 2 or 3 people that you've got like ongoing conversation at the same time. So the plan will be to try to do more of that. It all depends really on how we get on in terms of, everyday life, work and so on as well. We can't put a commitment to a schedule, but ideally I'd like to be able to put out one maybe every week or every other week, I'd say at this point. I don't want to sort of like overcommit to something yet, but with new games as well, I want to try to get something out as soon as possible, because I think it'd be good to not only market the game as well, but I think people will be wanting to see something fresh as well. So if we can give them that sort of taste before people want to buy games, then we'll definitely look to do that. Definitely.
Yeah, certainly. And for those listeners out there, we're up on the point of we're passing 200 listeners, so we do appreciate you out there. And our plan is to always grow. We've seen it grow massively alongside Stadia, and I think we're just overwhelmed by how many people tune in and follow and listen to us across Twitter and YouTube. We are three guys who have full-time jobs. Some of us more serious jobs. Tom looking after the future children of tomorrow. And Richie in his biochemical hazmat suit, trying to either cure coronavirus or create the T-virus. One of those outcomes will happen eventually. But yeah, the reality is we are basically living month to month on our pay slips, and that's why things like kitting out a full studio, which I'm sure that is the goal, that is the dream. Unfortunately, it doesn't come quickly. Which we haven't mentioned it, but we do have a Patreon page. So if you do appreciate our voices, the efforts that we are putting in, and you've listened to us for a few weeks now, and you really do kind of want us to grow, you can always help us out. We'll never beg for it. We'll never ask for it. But if you can just give 78 pence or $1, I think it translated to, we do have a founders tier over on patreon.com/Sounds of Stadia. But I don't think it's really within our... it's not really in our personalities to ask for that week in week. I think we mentioned it a few weeks ago, Tom, off screen, just saying we just want to kind of drop the Patreon thing, because if we feel like if you appreciate our time and efforts, you would naturally gravitate towards that. We don't want to keep pushing it week in, week out, and it becomes part of the housekeeping routine, because that's not why we do this. We started it as a hobby. We started to just have fun playing a new technology, and I think we've had a great time so far. And I think us three just jumping and playing, you can see it in our Let's Plays that we just have a good time together, which is what it's all about. It's about having a laugh and a good time. But while we wait for Richie, we might as well drop back into the news, I suppose, rather than prattling on for... He could be gone hours. Apparently his internet's gone down, and he'll be back with us shortly. But we did have games on sale this week, so Borderlands 3... Shadow of the Tomb Raider, suspiciously back in these sales. I know it was. I think Richie picked it up last time, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think all 3 of us have that now.
I don't.
Oh.
I resisted buying it last time because, as mentioned, I do own it for the PlayStation 4.
Fine.
And I have got the platinum for it, so it was kind of like, do I want to buy another game? At the time, I was suspect it would have been the free game. If you remember, for February.
Yeah.
So now that hasn't happened, it being sat there in the store for £16.50 does actually entice me quite a bit. Just because I want the set.
I think there's quite a few games in that sales there that are that if you haven't got it already, probably get it now, because I don't think they're going to come back around on sale again anytime soon after this.
Yeah, once the library gets bigger, I think there will be a cut-off point where they can't just keep putting the same games on sale, because surely, like you said, the people who've wanted it have bought it by now.
There's a point for you, actually. When do you think we'll see our first game reduction in terms of general sales? Because obviously, as games get older, as they exist within a library for so long, the price will have to drop down, because we know it's not competitive. So I suppose an important question to ask there as well is, what game will we see first that will be reduced in terms of price? Not on sale, but I mean permanently reduced.
Yeah.
And how quickly will that happen? Because we haven't seen it yet.
I can't imagine they'd actually post about that. I feel like that's something they would just do behind the scenes, because if you make an announcement of it, it almost becomes a sale by default.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's a weird one. That's the thing. I mean, other games that we've got on there as well. We've got Wolfenstein Youngblood. We've got Kine. I think. I think it's down at £10. We've got NBA 2K20 is back down again. Red Dead Redemption's probably, I think, from what I've seen, has got its biggest cut so far. I think you can pick it up for around the £40 mark, which isn't that much of a reduction, to be honest. But we all know Rockstar games hold their weight a little bit, similar to Nintendo titles. We've got Dragon Ball Xenoverse as well, which you've already got, have you not, Tom?
No, I picked it up in this sale. Yes.
In this very sale.
In this very sale that we're talking about right now.
I think you've got the biggest library out of the three of us collectively.
Currently sitting on 17 games.
17 games.
That's
wow.
way more than me.
What don't you have?
I don't have Red Dead 2. I don't have Wolfenstein. I don't have Kine, NBA, off the top of my head. I don't have the Attack on Titan game, which doesn't get a lot of publicity. It is in the library, but it doesn't get a lot of publicity.
You know what I think? Most anime ported games, they're just pretty rubbish. So I'm not saying this one is, but I've kind of been conditioned. I've bought a few games in the past and they've just been terrible. So I'm kind of conditioned to just dismiss. It's probably a bit unfair on it, but.
Well, I sort of agree. I don't really see myself paying £55 for it.
No.
And that's sort of like the same as to how I feel with things like Grid, for example. I love the idea of Grid, but I wouldn't invest that kind of money into it because, as we've said before, we've talked about it week on week, but I'm just not that passionate about it that I'd invest 55 quid into it.
Welcome back, by the way, Richie.
Yeah, Windows decided to update.
Hey, something you don't have a problem with Stadia.
Yeah,
that is true. So
you Steam gamers out there running on Windows, you've still got to deal with that. Stadia one-ups you there.
I wouldn't care. I actually checked and made sure there was no update meant to happen in Windows. I just went, oh, by the way, we're restarting now.
Damn
you, Microsoft.
Just cut straight out. Is this something you've been putting off on your computer for a while, by the way? Those little notifications. Windows needs to reset in 3 hours. Delay.
You know what it is?
Tomorrow.
I turn this PC on literally once a week for the podcast.
Oh, that's nice.
So if an update happens, it tends to need to be done on a Sunday when we're recording. That's what I always check.
It's okay. We didn't talk shit about you or anything, or take a screen grab of your frozen face or anything like that. Nothing. We wouldn't do that, would we, Tom?
No, it's not like you're going to become a living meme for the Sounds of Stadia podcast or anything.
No,
it's fine.
We're not going to use your forehead as a billboard or anything. Anyway, another news story we got. We might as well get through these before Richie disappears again.
Yeah.
We got the Marvel Avengers pre-order beta, fall beta, I should say, beta. Did any of you pick up on this story? I noticed it in there. I did see the pre-orders for other consoles drop. What do we get with this, lads? What's the crack with it?
Early access, basically.
Is that what it is? You pre-order and you just get in at the beta. Which actually leads me for an interesting question. I don't know if we've mentioned it in other shows. The one thing with Stadia, which I'm curious about, is collector's editions. So everybody else who buys, the thing that brings it around is I saw something on the internet, which was the Avengers collector's edition, which comes with a Captain America statue, a bunch of stickers, a comic book, a steelbook case, all that kind of stuff. What happens with the Stadia equivalent of that? If I buy the Assassin's Creed Ragnarok collector's edition, will Ubisoft still be sending out the statue and the collectible?
I highly doubt it.
I think it's possible. I think it's possible because you could just have all the physical stuff there and just a code.
Yeah. I don't think it'll be available. I think they will have the digital collector's editions available only. So, for example, with Borderlands 3, granted it was down the line, it wasn't day and date release, but the Super Deluxe edition that I picked up, originally if you purchased that from your high street retailer like Game, for example, you would have received the diamond loot chest with it, which was a physical chest that had codes and content within it. Instead, they just basically gave you all of the items that you would have had in it digitally. The digital codes were already essentially redeemed, should we say.
That feels like a bit of a mistake to me because the reason these collector's editions sell is because people like them. So you could literally just put the code in the box. And the thing is, what you could even do You could even update the app so there's a QR code and just scan it rather than have to type the whole thing in.
Yeah. Does this seems to me like a really good way Stadia could get themselves into brick and mortar stores and create more of a presence. So you're right there, Richie. A digital code alongside a collector's edition could be a really easy way of getting themselves. So you think like Cyberpunk, Watch Dogs, Assassin's Creed Ragnarok, whatever that may end up being. All three of those titles will have some form of special edition, whether it's you get a Cyberpunk jacket, you get an axe with the Ragnarok, you get some kind of sunglasses kit or something with Watch Dogs. I know Ubisoft always go hard with their special collector's editions, and it's funny you say that, Richie, because I got the Assassin's Creed Odyssey edition with the Spartan and his spear jumping off something. I got a digital code with that, I recall, as well. Yeah. So yes, I got the whole box set up and all the fancy bits and pieces, but I actually did get a digital code to coincide with it. Because
don't get me wrong. Like, don't get me wrong. I love the idea of a physical collector's edition, but let me give you a reason why it won't happen. I think if you're looking at traditional brick and mortar stores, I think what you are going to see is you are going to see a Google Stadia section, as we've discussed before with Chromecasts, controllers, and so on there, possibly with a little bit of links to gear that it could be integrated with. However, in terms of the games, I think you're going to see what you see with redeemable game codes. You're going to receive like cards or vouchers that you pick up, take to the checkouts, and pay for it there. Now, the reason I don't believe we're going to get physical collector's edition is because Google will be trying to minimize their costs. Now, I know what you might think, well, but it's not going to be Google, it's going to be the developers, right? Who are going to be doing the marketing and the releasing and so on there. But I don't think it fits into the model. I don't think it fits into the model of Stadia as a digital platform. You can't buy physical collector's editions through Steam. And the way I see Stadia is a service like Steam, like Epic Games, like Origin. And you can't do it through those. So I don't think it's going to happen.
I agree. The only one thing I'd say is I don't actually expect Google Stadia in a physical store. Because Google don't seem to care about brick and mortar stores. It's unlike, so for example, Apple, you'll see it walk down your high street and there's an Apple store. You don't get that with Google. They don't have a physical presence.
They do with the smart technology, all the smart home stuff like the speaker hubs and everything like that, and all that kind of gear. They do have physical presences in a lot of the PC World Curry stores. Yeah. So all Stadia would be, I'd imagine, would be a caveat of that. It would just be attached at the end, and it would be another optional purchase.
I don't see them doing like a hard push though. I think it would just be like, okay, you've got your Google Chromecast. Here's a controller next to it, and that's about your lot.
Yeah.
Maybe they just have just the Google cards for the prepaid cards.
Yeah.
To your account.
I do think they will have had some sort of meeting, or they've already got a concept or an actual even prototype of POS that they've already got. POS being point of sale for these sorts of displays, because they are going to want to get in there if they want to raise the profile of Stadia. We all know who Google is, but for the most part, if you do go and ask the general gamer who may not be completely as clued up as we are, they're probably going to go, oh, what's that? Or, oh, I've heard of it, but I've not really looked into it. So they are going to consider stuff from that perspective, I think, as well.
Yeah, they haven't got won that mindshare battle yet. They're just not, when people think of gaming, they're not yet thinking of Google.
No. Yeah, but that's going to change.
Very true, very true. It could be an interesting potential for them to trial in certain countries, and especially when they launch in more countries around the world, how they want to get that message out there. And the great thing, I suppose, with it being just a controller and a Chromecast stick, is you could easily bundle them in with a game. We know Google has said they're going to have some game exclusives coming. So you could easily bundle that in with some kind of launch package with an exclusive game for however many months or weeks that may be, and just say and repackage it as the Premier Edition. Essentially, could be repackaged as the, I don't know, Batman Edition, whatever game it may be, and you get maybe it's like a special skin or a pre-order bonus and the code for Batman within the Premier Edition package, and then just Batman branded up, I suppose, and then they put them on the shelves or something in the, whether it be the electronics store or a game store. But again, it's all stuff that can be tested.
Custom controllers or special edition controllers would be a great selling point for them, because I think Microsoft always had their online store where you could customize your own controller. I always thought that was great. I would use it if I had an Xbox.
I reckon
doing the same thing for Google Stadia would be amazing.
Yeah, and I reckon that might be sort of where some of the potential future profit could lie within the actual scheme of it. Because we obviously see special editions of consoles coming out. And as you said, with Microsoft being able to release like custom controllers or offering a feature to allow people to do that. Maybe we see with Stadia, maybe the money lies with custom or special edition controllers that come out. So actual branded based on the games that you get it with.
If you could get a Sounds of Stadia branded controller now, would you take it?
Yes. Depends which logo.
Thought would be, I'd like the round logo, where the Stadia button. So instead of Stadia S, it's got our logo.
I'm kidding. Of course I would.
In the detail.
Of course I would.
But the potential, like I said, the great thing with it being a new proposition is the potential for marketing is endless. They can come up with whatever crazy things. I mean, we saw the 3 pop-up stores they had going late last year to kind of promote the launch. They can do things like this, and the great thing with Google is they have the money and the kind of logistical setup to just acquire people. I know in the UK they done a lot of them. They call them gems, which are Google Experience Managers. They essentially go out and promote these brands on 12-month rolling contracts, whether it is the Chromebook laptops, it's the Pixel phones, it's all the smart home tech. But these people are recruited externally, and they just go out into the UK and promote Google, and they could just do that at the snap of their fingers and just recruit more people, train them up on Stadia, and send them out to supermarkets, shopping centres, brick and mortar retailers, and just get the word out there. And again, if you do that for long enough, the message gets out there and people get a clearer image of what's being talked about.
I think a big part of stuff like that, though, is you have to get away from just London in the UK.
Oh,
certainly. I think that's always a problem. They'll do these experiences in London, but most of the country don't live in London.
You got to look at your big cities. Look at Newcastle, Manchester, Birmingham. You've got to take it around. Go to Cardiff. Go to Edinburgh. You've got to remember that. In fact, actually, if you were to look at numbers, I imagine the diversity of gamers from the geographical perspective is spread quite nicely across the UK. I don't think it'll be isolated specifically to London. So you've got to hit that.
Yeah. I mean, think back to
if anything, I think London might be a bit lower than other places on average because there's more things to do. There's more things there competing for your time.
Yeah. I agree. You need to get yourself out to the likes of Atlanta, Manhattan, Frankfurt, Newbury, Seattle, Helsinki, Chicago, and Blackheath. All these places that our listeners are from. Yeah. I'm speaking right to you. They need to get out and come and see you in your hometown, your home stores, up and down and across the world in the likes of Canada and Finland and Spain, where we have listeners as well.
Yeah, Google, we can provide you with the analytics if you want. It's not like you live on data or anything.
Yeah, you've got no data whatsoever on that. But yeah, speaking of spreading the love and stuff, Tom, you've got more Borderlands news for us this week.
So, struggling for a segue there, was it, Chris?
I was, yeah. It was just kind of like, I'm cautious of the time, and I was like, we need to move this on.
Yeah, that's fine. So, yes, couple of things.
Borderlands of countries. There you go. Speaking of borders.
So, a couple of things here. Borderlands 3, first thing we should announce. You've probably seen it on Twitter. If not, and you are a Borderlands player, you do need to be aware that the Vault Insider program, or the VIP program, is being shut down as of the 18th of May this year. Now, you might be wondering, what is the Vault Insider program? Essentially, it was a second system alongside Shift. So where Shift is the thing we regularly see these golden keys being dropped that you redeem with essentially, like access codes or online keys to actually put in through the website. The Vault Insider program used to be a separate one that you used to be able to earn points with based on events that happened in-game, events that happened online, social events in real life, and digital, and the codes that you could get as a result of those they'd persist. You can go back, you can collect all of them now for every single event that's come out, but they gave you access to specific gear or specific loot as opposed to an opportunity to get loot through the golden keys. So as far as that system is concerned, it did sort of die out after a while. Like it wasn't really utilized so much. People seem to prefer the shift codes for the golden keys. So it looks like they're closing that down. However, you can redeem all of that. All you need to do is just go online, Google Borderlands Vault Insider Program codes, and you'll get a full list of all the codes you can redeem. Get your stuff before the 18th of May. But as an addition, the Vault Insider Program is going away. So Gearbox have turned around and said, do you know what? Here's 10 golden keys. So this is the biggest giveaway of golden keys that has happened to date. 10 golden keys from one code. We'll link the code over on Twitter and on YouTube as well. I'm not going to say it out on air because there's no real reason for me to sit here and ramble that off.
Read the alphabet.
It's like a 20-letter code.
You do, but you've got until the 3rd of March to claim those 10 keys, and I would strongly suggest you do it because you can get some pretty good loot from it. Finally, though, Borderlands 3. We're going to finally hear about the second campaign at PAX East, which will be happening, I believe that's at Thursday this week. That's Thursday, 27th of February. We'll find out about the second Borderlands 3 campaign. Will it come to Stadia day one? Hopefully. They seem to be caught up with everything now.
It'd seem a bit of a backward step if it wasn't, after all the DLC started coming day and date.
Well, we had the hotfix as well the other day. That's updated it once again. So we are on track.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they have confirmed, and this will be part of the season pass as well.
Excellent.
Oh, so it's all free for those Stadia pass holders out there.
I think it's something like the first 3 or 4 campaign DLCs as part of the season pass on the fine print in the season pass on the Stadia store, so you'll get it. I won't because I don't have the season pass, but
you're going to be jumping into that, Tom?
Definitely,
100%.
Absolutely,
fantastic. So while you play that, let us talk about the next story, which is UPlay Plus. Starting beta for Google Stadia are on the list. So we've got the global beta test network have added Stadia to the list of available platforms beginning February. So they've sent out some emails to their members, which basically you can head over to the global beta test network website and sign yourself up, and you can take part in this. But as far as I'm aware, they actually asked for quite a bit of detailed feedback from you regarding testing the beta. So you tune in, they give you access to it, and you can trial UPlay. Either are you interested in this beta test? Or is it too much of a time soak?
It's you're very limited. There's only 2 days the test is actually running for, February 28th and the 29th, and it's only between 9 a.m. and 11:30 a.m. Pacific time. So it's a very short period, and it's very specific.
It is very specific, and I think the reason for that is they want to test things like server load on it as well. I am signed up to the Global Beta Test Network.
Why am I not surprised?
I am signed up.
I can't say anything more than that.
Is that because you've got a non-disclosure agreement? Or?
There are NDAs in place for every... It's really weird. It's the Global Beta Test Network, so people can see all of the beta tests that are going on if you're in it, but you do have NDAs confirming that you cannot share any details of it.
So it's an exclusive club, is what you're saying?
It is an exclusive club. It is your country club.
Interesting. Yeah, they just don't want to release any info about the games before they're ready to, because at this point, if it's going through the global beta test network, everything's subject to change.
Yeah, I mean, I had the discussion online with Duncan over at Stadia Source as well, just to say it's not really concerning that people are announcing this and getting the news out, because we've always known that UPlay Plus is coming to Stadia. They've said it from day and day announcement of Google Stadia that it is going to come. This just sort of narrows down the window to say, look, it's still coming. We don't have a date of when it's coming out yet, and we don't really know what's actually going to be included or how it's going to work. We just know it's now being tested.
Yeah. Knowing that it's going through a global beta test isn't the same as knowing what the test Ubisoft are doing regarding the test.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. But the fact that anyone can just subscribe to it, it's public knowledge.
Yeah, true. But I suppose it does lead the way to show that it's coming and it's on the horizon soon, which should bring... some people are suspecting that it's going to bring The Crew and Division 2 with it, alongside a couple more Ubisoft games. Do we think these UPlay games count as part of the 120 for this year, gentlemen? Or are they the whole separate thing on their own right?
I really hope not, because surely UPlay Plus has more, or like a vast amount of games within that library right there to count towards it. So I don't think it would do. I'd be very disappointed if it was.
Yeah, here's Ubisoft's back catalogue of random Assassin's Creed remakes and Rayman Legends and stuff, and we've only got 50 games left to announce for Stadia.
Yeah.
But an interesting thing with that as well is you could essentially drop your Pro subscription, sign up for UPlay, and just have the Ubisoft games through Stadia. Or do we know anything about needing the Pro subscription and UPlay side by side?
There's a question in itself.
Because if you just wanted to play Ubisoft games on Stadia base, that should be free. But I have a feeling there's going to be a caveat of you need Pro.
I'm going to assume you're going to need the Pro because Google want to take their cut somehow.
That would be a really bad executive move by Google there to say, oh no, you can just use this service and just pay Ubisoft for it, unless they have a deal in the background that says a portion of Stadia based
that's what I was thinking.
Access.
Because then if Ubisoft have worked really well with Stadia so far, so it'd be interesting to know if that partnership comes in with the future of Uplay as well. If Ubisoft can market their own Uplay thing without any caveat of needing a console, interesting. So there's some interesting stuff on the horizon for Ubisoft and that then.
Things are happening.
Things are happening. Other things that happen as well in the world of Stadia. We got some more devices are now compatible. We know it was beta tested, like everything seems to be at the moment, ahead of time. But yeah, Google came out of nowhere midweek once again and said, beginning February the 20th, you can play Stadia on a range of new mobile devices, in addition to just the Pixel family. So we got a whole plethora of Samsung Galaxy devices, my own included, which I was thrilled to bits about. The new range that was announced the other week. So although they had a partnership, Samsung, with Microsoft, which we spoke about on last week's live show, the new range of Samsung S20 devices, which is their flagship device going forward, will also support Stadia. So that's future-proofing for anyone picking up a new Samsung phone in the coming weeks. The Razer Phone 1 and 2, and some random phone I've never heard of before, which was the Asus ROG phone.
Republic of Gamers.
Is it?
Yes, it is.
Republic of Gamers phone.
Yeah, ROG. ROG is Republic of Gamers. It's Asus's range of gaming laptops, gaming accessories. It's their brand. They make really good monitors, really good gaming monitors.
Yeah, that's the only place I've seen them. So I think I might actually have an Asus at work monitor.
Okay,
I didn't know they were in the gaming space.
Yes, they are.
Sorry, in the phone space. I knew they were in the gaming space, but.
Interesting. So that brings the list to over 20 different Android phones, and I've seen a lot of people on Twitter immediately default to why isn't it available on iOS yet. And I think the reality is this platform, Google, on Android as well. So of course they're going to trial this kind of stuff on Google devices first.
I'd also say the reason it's not on iOS yet is because it's actually harder to get things on the Apple Store than it is on the Google Store. From Apple's end, they have more to get hoops to jump through, so it's probably they're probably working on it.
Oh yeah, undoubtedly they're working on it. I just think it's their priorities are with Android at the moment because it is easier, and the reality is more like not everyone in the world uses an Apple phone, so they're going to get there. But I was thrilled to get home from my excursion to Amsterdam this week and boot up the Stadia app on my device, and just see the option to play it on this screen. Just so nice to have that little message, just this screen. I don't want to cast it to the living room TV. It's just there. That's the reality of what we were promised on day one from Stadia was going to be able to happen, that we can jump from device to device.
Have you tried it?
Yes, it works.
Excellent.
It still doesn't support, annoyingly enough, the wireless controller, though. So I still needed to hook up a controller with Bluetooth to the phone and then use it that way.
And what was your controller of choice?
I used my PlayStation 4 controller.
Of course, yeah.
The Days of Play Special Edition blue controller, if you must.
Naturally.
But it's pretty bad that you can use a PlayStation controller, but you can't use your Google Stadia controller.
Yeah, well, I've since ordered a USB-C to USB-C cable to see if it would work that way. I've not bothered looking at the forums and stuff either way, but I'm thinking surely that must work if it's directly hardwired in, like the laptop setup. But
I think it's meant to.
We'll see. I'll report back to you after I've beta tested it. But hopefully you guys are going to get some more phones on the list. And I'm sure this list of compatible devices is just going to get exponentially larger as like the days and weeks tick over. I wouldn't be surprised.
Part of the philosophy is play anywhere, so I think they literally mean they want to be able to play anywhere.
Yeah, I would agree. Kind of final story of the week then, just to wrap up, gentlemen, as we are going over time as per usual. Bethesda have left GeForce Now. I definitely wanted to get the story in, but I didn't want it to be a focus point of the episode because, as we've said before, we are a Stadia podcast. We appreciate everything GeForce Now was doing. Richie, you've highlighted many times it's a utility as opposed to an actual platform.
Yeah.
However, another kind of baseball bat to the knees of GeForce Now this week has been Bethesda, alongside Activision and Blizzard, have also pulled their games from GeForce Now.
I kind of think that GeForce probably haven't spoken to a lot of these publishers about getting the games, and with them being a utility.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we'll just bring your games across, and a lot of the publishers have probably been reading through some of their contracts they have with Microsoft or with PlayStation, with Google, and there's probably conflicts in there, so they're probably having to.
Is this creating a domino effect, do we think now? Are we expecting another story this week that says another person's left?
Yeah, I definitely think that's going to be the case. I think we're going to see perhaps another 5, 6, even 7 companies pulling out soon, because there are rumors behind the scenes. I won't name any companies in particular because I don't want to get called out on it, but there are other companies behind the scenes who are already considering this. And I think we will hear, I might even be as bold as to say possibly 2 next week.
Oh, is this from your beta testing NDA?
Oh, no.
Nothing from that.
Nothing to do with that.
Is this another exclusive club you're part of?
Yeah. I hear things.
Yeah,
interesting.
I've imagined there's certain companies do have the sort of exclusivity or semi-exclusive contracts with certain, like, with, as I said, Google, Microsoft, Amazon, Sony. And some of them might be going, what you're doing there with NVIDIA is a bit of a breach of that. We're not really fond of this.
Interesting stuff, though, that here we are 2 weeks in a row talking about, supposedly, according to the news, Stadia's biggest rival. They've took Stadia down, all this, and then here we are 2 weeks on the bounce talking about how they've lost some of their biggest flagship titles, just gone with a snap of a finger.
The one thing I've seen people on Discord or on Reddit and on Twitter and on Facebook and various places being quite salty about is, if this was Stadia, the press would have been hounding them.
Ooh.
Where with it being GeForce, it's just kind of just bridge almost.
Interesting. It's definitely been headline news on tech websites, but you're right, Richie. I don't think it's got the global hatred or backlash that you would expect if it was from another platform. If it happened on any of the big ones or Stadia in itself, I could expect an entire list of YouTube videos and Twitter mentions and stuff just saying about how Stadia is dead and failed once again.
Yeah, it makes you want to dust off that old tinfoil hat.
It does indeed.
Yeah.
But either way, gentlemen, as I mentioned, we have been going quite long as it stands. So before we wrap up, Tom, I'm getting a bit peckish.
Oh yeah.
Could you bring me some salted beef to the table, please?
Salted beef, you say, Chris?
Yes,
well,
please.
Absolutely. My beef this week, ladies and gents, is with the Stadia controller. The Stadia controller. Nothing wrong with it. I think it's a brilliant controller. It's lightweight. Yeah. I know there's some issues in the community with things being a little bit flimsy and so on, but that's not where my beef lies. My beef lies with the fact that this past week, I have traveled to 5 different locations with my Google Stadia, Chromecast Ultra, and controller. And at every single location, I've had to enter the Wi-Fi codes, connect to it, enter a password, and get in, which is absolutely fine. But when I get home, it would be really nice if it remembered it, rather than every single time. Because I often do this. I take things like, I take my Chromecast, I take my controller to my mum's. I'll take it up north when I go to see my fiance, or when I come to see...
You mean us, not your
guys.
fiance.
Yeah.
And every single time, even though I've previously connected the devices to a network, I have to re-enter it. What's even more frustrating is what I was talking to Richie pre-show about, is the fact that, let's say you take your Chromecast Ultra elsewhere, through the Google Home app, you can just share your Wi-Fi password anyway. You don't have to enter it, even if you connect to a new Wi-Fi through the device, because it's already paired with your phone. Why can't it just pass that across to the controller? Because even though you can do that, you still have to enter the passwords, and you still get redirected to the other bloody app as well.
It just makes the whole thing seem so much worse when you know Google has the technology already to do that, to just your phone.
They almost just need to have the pairing functionality of the Stadia controller as a Google Home device.
Yeah.
Or
just take whatever the coding is and just point it into the Google Stadia app. Done.
Yeah.
That shouldn't be too big of a task.
No, and I don't think it's going to be something that will persist. I'm hoping that when we see wireless controller updates, that they will patch that in.
That's surely got to be the big hot fix for wireless controllers. As soon as that becomes available on a multitude of devices, this whole Play Anywhere mantra needs to be seamless. It can't be as arduous as you're mentioning there, Tom.
Yeah, it's just become much more noticeable to me because this past week, with it being half term, I've been off school. I've done a lot of traveling around. I've been to a lot of places, and in every single case, I've taken Stadia with me because of its accessibility, because it's supposed to be able to do that. But it has been an absolute bastard to set up every single time because it's just annoying. It's just a little thing like that could be a nice quality of life fix just to move it forward. That's all.
My assumption is there's a guy in the Google Stadia office or somewhere with a whiteboard behind him, and that's one of the things on his list.
Ready to cross off.
Ready to cross her off. But other things probably just keep taking priority.
Yeah. But interesting you should say that, Tom, because obviously you joined us for a Stadia hot tub party the weekend gone before last. After our live recording, we all went away together with our friends. May have got merry, may have had some more Captain Morgans, too much some would say. But those 5 locations you spoke of, I'm interested to know how Stadia functioned at all 5 of those different locations up and down the country.
Okay. Location number 1. Our getaway location, which if anybody wants to check it out, go over to Twitter and check out my Twitter page. Posted pictures over there. #Stadia Getaway. And thanks to Ashley as well for organizing that. I'm just going to put that out there. It worked absolutely fine there. No issues. It was great. The internet speed was stable. I think it was sitting around about 30 meg. So it was fine. No issues. Holly's mum's house is currently having some internet issues, so it was not possible to even play it there.
Is she with the same provider Richie's with?
She was with her previous, his previous providers. But she has she's currently waiting for an engineer to come out and check the lines because she was only picking up about 7 megabits per second, which in this day and age is diabolical in my opinion. Yeah.
See, my previous company, they weren't actually bad. They just couldn't offer the speeds I wanted.
Right.
I never had an issue with the stability or anything like that. It was just
this was just trash. So, historically she hasn't had issues, and I have been able to play it there. But this past getaway it wasn't functional. 2 hotels that I've been to over the past week. One of them used what's known as a captive portal, which is when you go to a hotel and you have to log in through a website and enter your email address. Stadia does not work with it unless you purchase a travel router to take with you, which there are videos about it online. I may even create one myself just to put out there to show people. But if you want to take the Chromecast, you need to take a travel router with it essentially get that to connect to it.
Can you do a workaround where you connect your phone to the Wi-Fi and hotspot your phone?
I did try that, but I couldn't get it working. It may be possible if you could get it hotspotting instead. The second one, same issue. And finally, it's just coming back here. I went around to a friend's house as well, which was absolutely fine. It's just, again, Virgin Media. And then coming home, I just had to enter all my settings again, which is hence the beef.
Hence the beef. So a mixed bag there. But the portability of it obviously means you've been able to take it out and about with you without too much Too much setup, which is always good.
It is.
Fantastic. So 1 hour and 18 minutes, gentlemen. That brings us to a wrap on episode 22. Our baby's all grown up now. We've had live episodes, we've had tantrums, we've had beef, everything else. But that brings us to a wrap on episode 22 of the Sounds of Stadia podcast. Once again, we just wanted to thank everyone for tuning in back to our regular routine. And hopefully, as I mentioned, the sound quality is a little bit sharper than it was on the live recording. But thank you to everyone who went over and checked that out. You still can head over to our YouTube channel, /Sounds of Stadia, where we have the 4th part of the Tomb Raider playthrough up now live. So watch along with us, have a laugh and see if Lara can survive us all on the sticks. We've also got the Trials Rising video has gone up with a fun edit in there, so check out that from the live stream too. We've got a live stream coming up hopefully this week with maybe some Spitlings, not Spitlings. And keep your eyes on Twitter for all of our communication going throughout the week as well. But I think we just want to say a massive thank you for tuning in, checking us out. We really do appreciate all the support. My name's Chris. Pause in silence, waiting for someone to go next. My name's Chris.
I'm Richie.
And I've been Tom.
We've been the Sounds of Stadia podcast. Thank you very much. Enjoy your week, everyone. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.